I think that was a thought we had many times about possibly quitting YouTube. Is it something that's still for us? Is it something God wants us to do? And I have come to the realization of
it's just been very hard trying to find we're just in a roadblock right now for YouTube, and that's obviously okay. Like, we obviously don't want to just make videos just to make videos. We want to have meaningful, motivating
topics to talk about.
Yeah, topics to talk about. And
you guys, we've just been in a roadblock with these podcast series because we want to make it meaningful and effective. We want to speak our story, but also not talk about it too much where it just becomes about us, And I feel like maybe it has to do with like the third year, like brain fog, y'all. I've just had so much brain fog, and maybe other people call it like in a creative rut, right? Is that what you guys call it? And I think very much so. We've been trying for the past months to put out podcast videos consistently because that's what we used to do. And we're just struggling a little bit, y'all. Like, it just...
And we're not struggling with video ideas. Like, yes, we can take this numerous routes, but we definitely would love to hear from you guys.
Well, like, we lately have been really thinking thoroughly what way we want to take our YouTube channel, because for a little bit we were doing vlogs, and I feel like God is calling us to not necessarily focus on that right now and really focus on a series like this, because I know there's so many people hurting out there. I say it all the time, but it's literally such a broken world, and I just read so much about grief and how people are truly lost in it, and they probably don't know that other people are going through a very similar thing, and
right,
they don't know because they don't have that community. And we want this space to be very much so that for them, a community where they feel safe. And if I happen to talk about anxiety and really get into the truth and the rawness of it, of how it impacted me, they could relate to it. And just like mental health stuff, not only that, but your walk in Christ through that, and struggles as a marriage, because it's not a perfect world. It's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies, like we say. And that's really the route we want to take this channel.
As of right now.
Maybe later on we'll incorporate vlogs again.
But seriously, let us know, because
yes,
that's super important to get some feedback from. Mm-hmm. Because if this is not what you guys rather watch, that's fine too.
I think it's an odd place that we're in, because Abel was our only child that we had at the moment, and then you lose him, you grieve, and you're like a parent but not a parent at the same time. You know what I mean?
When you, as a first child.
Yes, as a first and only child, since right now we don't have kids. In the future we will. And so it's an odd place to still feel like a parent and kind of relate to other parents.
Yeah.
When you don't feel like one, but you still are one,
Even though you get treated as one, but it's not.
But not really.
Not really.
Right. And it goes as well to, not only were we parents, but we were also caregivers, and very much into the disability world.
Not being
part of that,
physically
yes,
part of that, or the obvious part of that anymore. It makes it harder to be part of that. Mm-hmm. Because now you feel like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
you don't have.
I hope we're making sense here.
You guys are very much helping us do that as too. You guys are guiding us in this walk as well. So we are helping out each other. And
I almost got to a place where I've wanted to quit YouTube, just because it has made it hard to figure out where my heart is at currently. Clearly, one of the reasons why we're not also producing videos is because we're obviously on a healing.
Yes. I think that was a thought we had many times about possibly quitting YouTube. Is it something that's still for us? Is it something God wants us to do? And I have come to the realization of this is God given. I like the moment he gave it to us was very strategic. And where were your reasons for those thoughts?
One, I was burnt out for sure, but just feeling like you're not, or you're no longer valuable enough, or I wouldn't say valuable, but no longer, you don't play that role no more of being the parent or being a special needs parent, or just simply like when you lose a loved one, we don't talk about all of the other losses that you also receive.
The losses that come with the loss.
Exactly.
Right.
The loss after the loss.
Yeah.
So to answer your question in more simpler words, feeling like, obviously it's not even simple. It's not meant to be simple, right?
No.
It just goes back to just not feeling.
I think one of the reasons why I considered possibly quitting was, one, in the winter I just was going through a lot, and I touched up on that in the last video, and I almost felt like somewhat contradicting, because I would, in previous videos I would get on and be like, but keep going, you got this, trying to speak life,
self-reminders.
Yeah, trying to speak life into other people. And then when I was experiencing that, like, it was really dark, really, really dark time. And I couldn't even say that to myself. And I'm like, how am I going to get on the camera and encourage all these people that watch us, and that care for us and that love us and have watched us since day one? I can't get on the camera and speak life when I don't even feel full of life myself. And I literally almost felt like quitting from everything, from YouTube, from Instagram, my socials. Like, I just wanted to get rid of them because I didn't feel like I could bring myself to that and speak life.
And that was one of the reasons why we also decided to quit Abel's store. This dream was so evident, prophetic, whatever you want to call it, and you remember this, but we were laying in a hospital bed, and in the dream, I woke up in my dream, and I remember waking up just freaking out, and I just seen we were in the PICU, but it was a bunch of beds. You could hear the noises, nurses and everything, and right when I woke up, I felt so afraid because I couldn't find Abel. I remember waking you up and asking the nurse, "Where's Abel? Where's Abel? Where's Abel?" But I'm laying in his own bed, trying to figure out where he's at. And the nurse looked at me and asked me, "He's not here. Why are you looking for him? He's no longer here." And I guess the revelation that I received was just stop laying or stop making your bed where you're no longer living in.
Yeah.
And not to get, sometimes I try to make these things sound deep or profound, but
I think that dream was profound.
I guess what I'm saying about the dream is it was just very, that was my revelation as to why I had to let go of certain things because certain things aren't no longer our battles, as much as we would do anything.
Right, and that's the thing for like. No, you go ahead.
No, we were gonna talk about why we quit Abel store, or why we decided to go that direction.
I think it has to do with what I was referring to. Like, I couldn't even speak life into myself, so I felt very like contradicting, and I didn't feel good in my spirit. Like, you know, doing something positive like Abel store and not feeling good myself, which it doesn't mean that you have to be a finished product, because I don't think we'll ever be finished products on this earth, right?
And what areas did you not feel good, or what do you mean by that?
Just mentally, but also physically, in the sense that I didn't have my son.
It was a way of you coping, maybe? Or what are you trying to say? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I think we created Abel Store to bring encouragement to the disability community, you know, to bring inclusion also, and for grief, encourage people who are going through, you know, a mental health difficulties at the time. And I don't know, I just, you know, I felt very sure that that's what God was telling me. And I love the name Abel, Able, and, you know, it obviously was inspired by our son Abel, and maybe it was a way of coping up. I need to do something still in Abel's name, but not Abel be the center of it.
Right.
God be the center of it, because it was never our son Abel. It was always God. And I just wanted it to point back to God. And I just felt like I wasn't
Take your time.
I can't even think of the word.
Take your time, because you have to take your time on this specifically, because I mean, a lot of people did support.
Yeah,
and I'm so much love and so much support.
So thankful for that. I was truly blown away, and
to this day, people ask about a journal.
Yeah, to this day. I mean, it's my passion. I love it.
So
it still makes me sad that I let it go. And I just feel like God was telling me it's time to move on.
So that's the root of like.
I truly do feel like God was telling me to move on. It's time to move on to another thing.
Have you figured out the reason why? Because I know that's the first thing we ask is like, but why?
Yeah, and I had questions, and but God made it so clear to me. It's time to move on. He made it so clear to me, and it makes me sad because I so much wanted to stay in that.
You're good. This camera keeps overheating and stuff. This never happens, but we need to get through this video. Yours is still recording, so I'm just gonna kind of tag along right here.
Okay.
We'll figure it out. But you were saying something.
Yeah, no,
You said God
made it so evident that Abel store, I needed to, you know, quote unquote quit, move on from it. And I was torn, like sincerely very torn in my spirit, because it almost felt like I was letting go of Abel, our son, again. And really letting go of the disability community.
But there's still ways, I mean, maybe, or what? Yeah. Why do you feel like, or do you feel like you're no longer part of the disability community?
I don't. And like, that's what makes me sad. But of course, there's plenty of things we could still do for it. And I think Abel Store was me doing something for that, bringing awareness about disabilities and all that. But, you know, I could still bring awareness and on the platforms that we have, like YouTube and Instagram, Facebook. But I guess that's just something that I held very dear to my heart, because it was inspired by Abel, our son. And who knows, maybe God will bring us back to it later in the future, but as of right now, it's definitely a closed door right now.
Right. It's been very hurting and stripping for sure, because we've done everything possible to try to be, or continue to be, part of the special needs community. But one thing we don't talk about is when you lose a loved one, if you lose a special needs child, you really don't have. Yes, there is grieving. Okay, check this out. We went to a grieving group.
Yeah.
But one thing I notice, or I'm starting to see, and maybe that's the direction of our calling, I don't know. But I've noticed that there's not many in our situation, young couples, at least in the circle we were in. It was a bunch of older people.
Yeah.
And maybe our calling is to help make a space
for young people who are grieving
after losing a child, because even when you lose a child, or when you lose a child, it gets weird after with relationships as well, because you're no longer a parent, so you're not relevant.
You feel kind of awkward, and around people who have all their kids, and you're just kind of like.
And my kind of personality, I love kids, so I will be.
We kind of became the uncles now, who play with the kids.
There you go.
Yeah, which we don't mind, but obviously,
don't mind that.
But initially, after losing Abel, it was very awkward and it was very hurtful to be around parents and their kids. That's another conversation.
That is another
besides the point.
Conversation. I'm sitting all weird. I'm not trying to say, like I can't be that still, but like on the outside world, truthfully, it's not.
We're not viewed as that.
We're not viewed as that. We're no longer viewed as a parent.